Good afternoon. This is Valjan Swahili, and welcome to the CoreALM webinar on Charm and ServiceNow Integration. We're going to give guests a few more minutes to join. We'll get started here, let's say, in about 3 to 4 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so I believe we have everybody in the webinar now. So we're going to get going here. It's just 7 minutes after 2. Again, my name is Valjan Swahili. I'm one of the SAP Solution Manager architects build coach here at CoreALM. Welcome to the webinar on Charm and ServiceNow Integration. So what we're going to go through today is we're going to talk a little bit about what CoreALM is, what we do, what are some of our products, some of our services. Then we're going to jump into the change management and ServiceNow integration, but we're also going to explain how the alerting and integration works as well with ServiceNow. We'll look at some of the capabilities of the ServiceNow connector from CoreALM. Then we'll jump into a live demo, and then we'll open the webinar for any questions and answers. In the meantime, if you do have any questions during this webinar, feel free to add them on the chat portion of the GoToMeeting. And then at the end, what we'll do is we'll read those questions out, and then we'll see if, to the best of our knowledge if we can answer them during this session, and if you have enough time as well. So we're who we are. So CoreALM, we're an SAP Agile DevOps solution to deliver integrated SAP application lifecycle management to help customers build and manage SAP projects, and also leverage SAP Solution Manager for any type of operational activities, such as this one where we're primarily integrating ServiceNow with SAP Solution Manager to pretty much help you operationalize and approve changes within one tool. Some of the capabilities that we offer, it's around Agile project management, process management, requirements management, DevOps, test management, cloud-based performance testing, integration with Jira, and we fully support SAP Activate and Agile methodology. So we've been we were founded back in 2009. I would say we have over 50 years of experience of more between of our consultants and of our partners as well. We are trusted by many SAP clients. We work with over 100 accounts. We're known for very quick implementation, especially around SAP Solution Manager and these integrations that we have between ServiceNow, also a Scrum board between Scrum focus builds. So just a sample of some of the customers that we've worked with or that we are currently working with, as you can see, but this is just a very small list, but as you can see, very large customers. So to get more specific about the services and the solutions that we offer, first on the engagement model, so we have turnkey solutions where you can stand up very quickly. We also provide engagement models on time and material, fixed cost, and also managed services. Based on those engagement models, we provide services around process and project management, so anything that has to do with an SAP Solution Manager around project and portfolio management. Also, we have one of our products, which is the Scrum board. We also offer services around Agile and Scrum board methodology. Then around business process management, so if you're looking to pretty much outline all of your value streams or your business processes that you currently run, or if you're going into a new implementation where you're standing up new processes, we can help you pretty much manage and break down those processes if they are SAP and with what some non-SAP as well. We also can help you with business process monitoring, so after you stand up those processes, how you can monitor them as well. We have services around test management, so anything from test planning, test execution, test automation, and then reporting and analytics as well. We have services around ITSM, change control management, so anything from Charm perspective, and then requirements management, and also around ITSM within Solution Manager. If you're looking to see if you can monitor your system around DevOps and run SAP, or what the old term run SAP like a factory, around anything around application operations, we can help you in that area. And also we offer services around focus build coaching. So if you have a S4HANA project or any type of innovation project that you're looking to that you might have in the future, we can help you utilize focus build and coach you through the processes based on Activate and Agile. Some of our products and solutions that we have, it's the Agile Scrum Board for Focus Build. So if you decide to use Focus Build and you want to see all of the tasks and reports in a Scrum Board or Kanban version, let's say, we can have a add-on that goes on top of, that gets deployed on top of Solution Manager, Focus Build. We also have a Jira and Azure integration connectors. So if you're looking to integrate Solution Manager, Focus Build, with Jira and Azure. Then the ServiceNow connector, that's what we're going to talk about today. And then last but not least, the cloud performance and functional testing. So we also have a tool where it can help you that is integrated with SAP Solution Managers for performance and functional testing. Some of the awards, partnerships, and recognition. So we are SAP certified, and we are an SAP partner in around SAP implementation. Just to kind of give you an idea what the Scrum Board that runs on top of SAP Solution Manager looks like. So you can pretty much see all of you have your work items, decision blocks, action items, anything of that nature. You have a Kanban board where you can have all of your work items or tasks in here, where you can have daily meetings with the users. In addition to that, there's reports such as what gives you a list of everything that's going on within a project, from burn-up charts to tasks to defects and requirements and so on. And then the main area that we're going to talk about today is the ServiceNow connector, where ideally is where in this case you have SAP Solution Manager at the bottom that pretty much is connected to all of your SAP environments. And in this case, if you're running Charm, or if you're interested to deploying Charm, in this case you're using SAP Solution Manager to manage all of the transports that go from one environment to another. In this case, Charm does have some workflow-based approvals, but if you're using ServiceNow already and all of your changes go through ServiceNow, it just makes sense if you have this integration in place where you can approve changes and you can request changes directly in ServiceNow, but then you have an integration within Charm where changes get executed and deployed based on the approvals that you have in ServiceNow. So nothing changes pretty much in your ServiceNow. In addition to that, we also have a incident creation from Solution Manager alert inbox. So let's say an example, if an alert gets raised for too many short dumps in your SAP environment, that alert creates an incident automatically, and in that way, once that incident gets resolved or closed within ServiceNow, it will automatically also close the alert within SAP Solution Manager. So, in this case, if you're already utilizing incident management in ServiceNow, pretty much deploying this connector, it's fairly easy. We're just integrating this within your alert inbox where you have all of your information in one place. From a mapping perspective between Charm change types and ServiceNow, at the top here, what you see is that we have the Charm change types, which maps very nicely with all of your ServiceNow change requests. They're pretty much a one-to-one relationship between these three. And we're talking about normal change, urgent, and stand-up change. In Charm, usually this is for any type of regular maintenance, any type of implementation projects or non-projects. It could be even your weekly changes, which really falls into that regular maintenance. And it's also integrated with SAP Transport Management. Versus when it comes to ServiceNow, this ServiceNow change or request does not have access to your transport management or cannot move transport from one to another. But the idea is here that from a ServiceNow perspective, it's more of a technical change that requires approval from a management, also from CAB. It's usually not an emergency change, and in most cases, it the request requires an approval, and then it also, before it goes into a production environment, it requires another CAB approval. So these two map one to one, and you can map, any even if you have something that's not standard SAP or something that's not ServiceNow, but this is just some of the best practice. Then if you jump to the urgent change, ideally in Charm, this is for emergency changes only. It's optimized for fast processing, even though it does require an approval, but it has less workflows. An example would be that, if you do run into a production issue that you need to move an SAP note as quick as possible, in this case, we have less workflows to go through to move that change all the way to production as quick as possible. And it's also integrated with the TMS or transport management in SAP. So you can move transport from one environment to another. When we jump into the ServiceNow emergency change side, it's pretty much maps one to one. It's optimized for fast processing. It does require CAB approval. However, it does skip some of the manager approvals, meaning that anyone can create an emergency change because in this case it's an emergency. In most cases, this comes out of an incident or some type of issue that was raised. Then we have the standard change in SAP. This is primarily for any type of regular maintenance. Think of this that this is for only very low risk changes. Ideally, is that you can have templatized, let's say, objects that you change daily that we know that are not going to cause any type of production issues. And then those you can list out in Charm to say that all my developers or configurators can make changes to these specific objects, and they don't require any type of changes. And if they don't, if they go out of those objects, at that point the standard change is not going to qualify, and then you would need to have two request approvals. Similar to in ServiceNow, it's a pre-authorized change. So any standard, it pretty much comes from a template, something that's very frequently used or that they need, and then it does not require any type of approval from such as change management or CAB. From a workflow perspective, on top you'll see ServiceNow in here. Usually the normal change is one that goes through new, it gets assessed, make sure that the change management allows you to make this change in the environment, and then you can start your development once that gets assessed and authorized. And then you go through the entire workflow of scheduling and implementing and then reviewing that change. Versus a standard change, a standard change, as you can see, it skips all of the authorizations and it jumps directly into schedule, where we can, if it's not a blackout or a freeze, let's say for an example, you can automatically import that change into production. And then you have your emergency change where it skips the assess phase for faster processing and it goes directly to authorize. Now in the solution manager side, so keep in mind this is a normal workflow in here, but also can be used very similar for or can be used for standard and emergency as well. In this case, it will go through once a change is successfully tested. At this point, it means that it's in dev, it's in QA. If it's a normal change, it will go through testing for production, add in all of the documentation. Let's say if you're doing some type of integration testing, and then it will get approved by CAB, and then at that point it will get imported into production. Versus an emergency, we're still going to do testing. That doesn't mean that we're going to skip the testing. However, for faster processing, we don't require all of the heavy documentation as for a maintenance change. This way, it would go directly to approved by CAB and be imported into production. Then for the standard, instead of going through and getting approved by CAB, as soon as it's successfully tested in our QA environment by a tester, it automatically gets imported into a production environment. Now, within our connector that we have, these workflows can be mapped to any workflow that you need to. Meaning that it's very fluid. So, for example, if I'll show you on the next screen, here's a normal change that's mapped. What we think best practice in this case. It gets created in ServiceNow, At that point, and when it gets to assess and gets approved, it'll create it in Charm. Here's another workflow for the emergency change, where in ServiceNow it gets created. It's going to go through authorization, then it creates it in Charm, and then within Charm you're gonna map to a different workflow that you need to. But a connector allows you here to map any type of workflow that you need to. As you can see from ServiceNow, we're telling Charm to change the status to implement, for example, and then that means that it got approved. At that point in Charm, as soon as it gets imported into production, it automatically will change the status within ServiceNow to review as well. Our connector also does it's both directional, meaning that you can start the change from Charm, you can get to successfully test it, and then you can trigger a ServiceNow request, or you can do it vice versa, where your request starts on ServiceNow and then it creates a change document within Charm. So it works both ways, just depending on what your requirement is. So really what we're going to do in the demo today is you're going to see that we're going to request a change in ServiceNow. They'll say we're going to do an emergency change to go quickly through the workflows. We're going to assign a change cycle within ServiceNow to directly for Charm, and when a change document is going to be created, then we'll go through the entire workflow that I showed you in the previous screen. Okay, some of the, from a role perspective, so this is a best practice or ideal situation roles. You have a requester, change manager, developer, tester, IT controls or CAB, and then you'll have your basis team to import the changes. And this is, keep in mind, this is for a normal change, which occurs daily or weekly, primarily in maintenance. In this case, a requester is going to request a change within ServiceNow. It's going to go to, and once they're ready for this to be approved, they're going to set it to assess. This is where the change manager comes in, approves or rejects that change to start any type of dev work. Now, if the requester is not the developer as well, if it's someone else, this is where the Charm document gets created in Charm directly based on this approval from ServiceNow. The developer starts their work, passes the work to QA. This is where the tester comes in. It's going to test that work. And then at the end, whenever they're ready, they're going to request approval directly in Charm, which is going to trigger a workflow change in ServiceNow and request approvals from IT controls and CAD. As soon as the request is either approved or rejected, at this point it triggers another workflow change in Charm, where now the basis or IT operator gets a notification that they have changes they need to import into production. At that point, they can import the changes into production, and then set the status to implement it. For example, in Charm, this is where the requester needs to go. If it's not the same as a developer, need to go and make sure and review the changes and close the incident back in ServiceNow. Similar for an urgent change, since we don't have a change manager role approval, in this case, a requester creates a ServiceNow change. At that point, as soon as that gets created, the work automatically starts within Charm by a developer. And then whenever that change is tested, at that point, the tester can request approval, and which will trigger a ECAB approval in ServiceNow, and they can either reject it or approve it. At that point, once we set it to implement, it will trigger a basis to import that change into production. And then again, the requester is going to close out those changes to make sure that they are in production. Okay. Now, our ServiceNow connector, this is once you deploy it and install it, we have a UI5 page where you can do all of the configuration, meaning that you don't have to do much of the configuration in tables or in ABAP or do any type of coding. It pretty much you make a connection from directly from the UI5 page, and then on top of that, we also provide a field map in between ServiceNow and Charm transactions. So we will map a ServiceNow to a Charm transaction, and then we will tell it when do we want a specific Charm transaction to pass a token either to ServiceNow or back to Charm. At that point, this is where, for example, in this case, once a ServiceNow ticket gets approved in assess, it will trigger a charm document to be created. Once that charm document is ready for production, or at this point, it will pass the token back to ServiceNow, where it will trigger a status to authorize, and that's where CAB comes in. So it really, all of these are pretty much changeable. So if you have custom workflows, if you have custom transactions, all of those fields will work at any given time where you want to pass a token from one system to another. From a information perspective, so I'm going to skip some of these slides in here. I'm going to go directly to this one here due to time. So from a SAP monitoring and alerts perspective, if you are using technical monitoring or business process monitoring, you are using alerts within SAP Solution Manager. Usually what it does is collect the data from the managed system, and then if the threshold is passed, it will generate an alert within the alert inbox in Solution Manager. So this is where our integration allows you to have alerts create an incident directly based on that alert. So you can choose any type of alert. It doesn't mean that every alert can turn into an incident. You can say that, depending on where you want to assign that template for, you can do it for each alert or for all. At that point, once that incident is created, that's where we come in within ServiceNow, and then we can either resolve it, or we can cancel it depending on what type of alert there is. But the goal is here that it's a bidirectional communication, meaning that the alert generates an incident. Once we resolve it or close it, the alert gets confirmed in SAP Solution Manager. In this case, you do not have orphaned alerts out there within SAP Solution Manager. Now, we're going to jump into the demo. The first part that I'm going to show you is going to be based on Charm and a change document. But before we jump into that, I'm going to show you our ServiceNow connector and how the integration works. So what you'll get is that you'll have this Fiori page or this UI5 page once you deploy your connector. You'll have a system preparation where it kind of walks you through some of the areas that you have to configure within the environment. It gives you additional information if you need what you need to do for that specific step. The goal for this is that you don't necessarily need our services to configure this. So if you just want to purchase a connector from us and deploy it, we give you guides on how to do this, and also we walk you through of all of the mappings that based on the requirements that you might have. Then you have a connector integration. This is where we're telling the solution manager, this is my ServiceNow, and this is what you need to integrate this. And the last but not least, which is the important part in here, is the change type mapping. This is where you can map any type of changes. So you can go in here and by clicking a plus, and then you can tell it, for example, for a normal change, what type of charm transaction do I want to map it to? So if you can tell in here, it's going to show you all different types of custom changes that you might have within Charm. So it doesn't matter what type of workflows, what type of statuses you have, we will map to any of those Charm transactions. In that case, once you map it, so in my case, I have a emergency mapped to an urgent change within Charm. This is where you come in within here, and then you decide what do you want to happen, and what do you want to happen once a status gets triggered. In this case, in ServiceNow, as soon as it's created and saved, it's going to create a Charm ticket. Once we get it to status authorized or successfully tested, it's going to request emergency CAB approval in ServiceNow. So it's really what's going to do. It's going to change the status and pass the token to ServiceNow. Once we set the status to implement in ServiceNow, it's going to pass the token back to Solution Manager, and it's going to authorize it for production. That's where basis comes in and imports into production. At that point, the token gets passed back to ServiceNow, and it gets into status review. So keep in mind, we have an initiating system, meaning that as of right now, what I'm going to show you in the demo is going to be that we're going to raise the request in ServiceNow, and then a change document is going to be created in Charm. But if you have a need where your initiating system needs to be Charm an example. So we want to start from Charm. We have a lot of clients that currently want to start the dev work without any approvals. However, before they send any changes to a production environment, at that point they want to trigger a request in ServiceNow. In this case, if you started from Charm, you would get it to status all the way to successfully tested. As soon as it gets to that status in Charm, it's going to trigger a ServiceNow request of status new. Once we approve it in ServiceNow and we set it to status implement, at that point it's going to trigger a status change within Charm, and it's going to pass a token and say, okay, this change is authorized for production. At that point, this is where your basis can come in, import the changes into production, and set it, and it will pass the token back to ServiceNow. But both options are there. Obviously, this page here that you see, this is more from an administrative perspective, and the goal is here that once you set it up, unless you add additional workflows or additional transactions, you should not have to come and modify this again and again. In addition to that, we also have a reporting feature. So where you can see an example, we have a created from ServiceNow, so we can say anything that's interlinked with a ServiceNow ID. So you have all of your Charm IDs, you have the description, the change type, the change cycle, who was it created by, and then at the end, and here you have the ServiceNow where you can click on it and it will take you directly to that specific ServiceNow change transaction. But as you can tell, all of the information there from a reporting perspective is there. So that way you can see exactly how many changes were created as part of, or how many changes are integrated with ServiceNow. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a new change in ServiceNow. So we'll go to our changes. We'll start a change. As you can see, we have 3 different types of changes. In our case, we're going to start an emergency one. And some of the fields that we pass from ServiceNow to SAP Solution Manager are going to be your priority, you're going to be the short description, the long description. Then we also have a solution documentation, test management, and transport management integration, which I'll show you in this demo as well. In my case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign this to a group very quickly. Let's say this is help desk. And then this is where we add an additional field as part of a connector. It's going to say, is it an SAP change? If you say no, you can continue with your standard ServiceNow process. Let's say if it's not an SAP change. If it is an SAP change, it's going to add an additional field in here. It's going to say SAP Charm details. This is where it's going to prompt you for a change cycle and also an SAP system, because now on a change cycle, we need to tell it what is our target production system that we want to send this change to. We bring all of our change cycles automatically, meaning that at any time if a change cycle is added or deleted, it's going to either be added or removed from this list in here. So if you are activating, deactivating change cycles, this list is always going to be up to date. And that happens based on triggers. So it's not really a scheduled job, but anytime that we change anything, it triggers a new update. In our case, I'm going to select a continuous cycle. And then if you only have one system available for that specific change cycle, it's going to pick it automatically. In case if you have multiple systems, and let's say if you need to make a change for a BW system and ACC at the same time, you can have one-to-many relationships. We can have one request for 2 change documents. So that way, both of those documents need to go to production at the same time based on this request, and will only require one approval for both changes if the changes are dependent on each other. The next step is in here is what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click save. What this is going to do is it's going to submit this ticket, and then we'll give it a second. This is where it's going to create a Charm a ticket or a Charm change document. I'm going to refresh it, and we'll just give it a second in here. And as you can see now, a Charm transaction is created here at the bottom. It gives you the Charm ID. Also, it gives you a link to go directly into Charm. If you click the hourglass in here, it's also going to give you information on the Charm ID, SID, and state. At this point, it's only created, so it didn't pass any information back. But you'll see when I come back in here, it's going to have additional information. So what I'll do now is, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this one more time. And then you can see that it's also going to give you an info message. It's going to say changes waiting for SAP update. Now what we did is, based on the mapping that I have for this specific demo, is that it passed the token back to Charm, created that change document. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to go through the process of actually creating a new change within SAP. It looks like I didn't enter a title in here, but if you do enter a title here, a description, all of that information is going to be passed in here. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and assign a developer very quickly. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and set it to in dev. And then we'll just create a couple of transports in here as well. So that way I can show you how the transport management and all of the rest of the features show up within ServiceNow. So we'll give Charm a second here in order to create those transports. And then what we'll do next is we'll go ahead and assign some solution documentation and then test management as well. So we'll go ahead and assign here a test plan very quickly. And then next is we'll go ahead and assign a process as well for this Charm transaction. The reason why I'm doing this is because we do pass the test management and solution documentation all the way to ServiceNow. The reason for that is, let's say an example, if you want your CAB to review the documentation from a process perspective, what process is changing as part of that Charm transaction, or what is the test plan if you are using test plan. All of that information can be all the way in ServiceNow, where CAB does not necessarily have to go directly in Charm to review this information. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and go to one of the customizing transports and release a transport very quickly, so that way we can move this transport up the chain. So we'll just move an empty transport. We'll find it in here, should be a blank title since we didn't add anything to it. Okay, in this case, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pass these changes to test. If you're unfamiliar with Charm, when you pass these changes to test, what's going to happen is it's going to be only transport of copies are going to move here, while still it's going to leave my transport open within my dev environment. It means I can go back and forth as many times as I need to until I'm ready to move those changes into my QA. Now, the main thing that I kind of want to show you in here is I'm going to go ahead and refresh ServiceNow. And then we'll just give it a second. This didn't save yet, but you'll see that I will have additional information within my Charm transaction here as well. So, okay, this was saved. So we'll go back in here as well. Okay, some information is not being passed here, but let me check in here in the transaction. But let me walk you through the process. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to get it to status successfully tested. And as soon as we get it to status number 4, what's going to happen now in ServiceNow, it's going to trigger this to authorize, which means now this is where the emergency CAB is going to come in and authorize this change for production. So we'll wait for it to go into successfully tested. We'll go ahead and refresh the screen here. As you can see, it's already an authorized status, but I'm just going to go ahead and refresh it to make sure that the approvals were triggered. In this case, as you can see, the cab is requested for approval. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select it, and then we're going to approve the change. Once that happens, ServiceNow out of the box is going to set this to scheduled after the cab is approved. And then the next step is that we're going to hit implement. And then we'll give it a second. What this is going to do is this is going to go ahead and change the status and pass the token back to Solution Manager to status number 5. So we'll give it a second, and also it's going to give you an info message that now the change is waiting for an SAP update. So as soon as we hit edit, the screen should automatically change to 5 or get refreshed. Now, as a basis or operator team that whoever import the changes into production is going to select import changes into production. Going to go ahead and click save. What that's also going to do is it's going to trigger a workflow change within ServiceNow to review. So we'll give it a second, and this is going to change to review. Once that's saved, and then the last but not least, this is where the requester comes in, makes sure all of the changes are within the production environment, closes out any tasks that need to be as part of ServiceNow. So let me reload this form. We should get some additional tasks in here that we need to close as part of this change. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and close them very quickly. And then we'll close this other task. And then in that case, we should be able to close the entire request. So we'll enter the closure information as well for the specific request. And that's pretty much it for the integration piece. Now, at any given time, once this request is closed, this becomes as a record, so you no longer can modify or change any of this information. Then if you go to our reporting feature, you can always see all of the changes that were created as part of the ServiceNow. Keep in mind, this works also for the standard change and for the normal change. So you can map it to any type of workflow that you need to map it, or even if you have customized workflows. Now for the last piece, we also have an integration between alert inbox and the incident. So an example, as you can see, all of these incidents are raised as part of the alert integration. So if I click on one of the incidents in here, this came directly from SAP Solution Manager from the alert. And so if I click and open in SAP, it's going to take me directly to that incident, tell me the status of it, then when it happened. Now, in this case, this is where you can come in ServiceNow after it gets raised. And then you have a link, you have all of the information for that specific incident, you have the alert ID, you also have the priority that gets transferred to ServiceNow, also the assignment group, you can assign it to any type of group that you need to. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and resolve this issue. And then it looks like there's some mandatory fields, so I'm going to go ahead and enter them. And I'm going to go back to that specific ticket one more time. And then we're going to go ahead and close it as well. Once that incident is closed, it's going to trigger a workflow change within the alert inbox. So I'm going to go back to this one in here now. And then if you click on open, it's going to trigger a confirmed status to alert inbox as well. So in this case, both the incident and the alert now are closed at the same time. So this is a pretty easy implementation, especially if you are already using any of the application operations for in Solution Manager, and you just want to stand up this integration. It pretty much it will raise any type of incidents that you want to based on a template that you set up in Solution Manager. But this is what we wanted to show you today. Hopefully you got some information out of this, especially if you're looking for an integration. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and see if you guys have listed out any questions within the chat, or if you do have any questions, please ask those in the chat, and then we'll go for we'll try to answer those, anything that you might have. Okay, one of the first questions that we have is we have technical monitoring running, but our alert box has thousands of emails. Does CoreALM offer any services to optimize the alerts and their thresholds? Yes, we do. So that's primarily where our consultants or experts come in, and they will help you with those thresholds. So in many cases, what happens is as soon as you turn on technical monitoring, what's going to happen is you're going to get all types of alerts. So you need to pretty much massage them up and down until you get them to a certain area, those thresholds, to get them to a safe spot, so you get the correct alerts. But yes, we can help with that. Now, Vatan, are there any other questions?
Yes. So another question we had was, what is the cost for using Solution Manager application and technical monitoring?
Vatan, you sounded a bit far away. What is the...
I said, what is the cost for using Solution Manager application and technical monitoring?
So SAP Solution Manager, if you have if you're using if you have a licensing with SAP, SAP Solution Manager is part of that maintenance cost that you pay SAP. So technical monitoring and application Solution Manager application in general, it's free with your maintenance with SAP.
I don't see any more for now, but anyone, if you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@corealm.com, and we'll be glad to help you out by answering those, or you can schedule a consultation with one of our experts as well. I see that Naveen has their hand raised, but I don't see a question from them.
Okay, very good. Well, if you guys have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. We can do it more of a personalized demo if you want to see additional features.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay safe.